Consciousness is the subjective nature of light. Sri Adida. In the remote mountains of Tibet, a venerable monk named Tenzin devoted his entire life to the Buddhist meditation practice of Dzogchen. As he aged and his spiritual practice advanced, Tenzin's aura became increasingly luminous, and rumors spread among the monastery about his advanced spiritual realization. One morning, as monks gathered for their daily prayers, Tenzin announced his intention to enter into deep meditation with the aspiration to achieve the rainbow body. The rainbow body is a rare and mystical phenomenon said to occur at the culmination of intense spiritual practice. For days, Tenzin remained in deep meditation. Incredibly, all watched as his bodily form began to gradually transform into radiant light. On the seventh day, he dissolved into a spectrum of colors, leaving behind only his hair and nails. Witnesses spoke of an ineffable sense of peace and awe. This story of a Tibetan Buddhist monk realizing the rainbow body is typical of the phenomena. For many, particularly in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the attainment of the rainbow body is very real. In fact, it is reported that many thousands have been first-hand witnesses to the phenomena. But what exactly is the rainbow body? And can anyone achieve it? Simply put, the rainbow body is a mystical transformation, wherein the physical body dissolves into what is known as a light body. This represents the pinnacle of spiritual evolution and is often equated with enlightenment. Those who attain the rainbow body are believed to have not only transcended the usual cycle of death and reincarnation, but to be reborn into a higher dimension of existence. To many, this phenomenon may be obscure, mysterious, or even unheard of. However, it has been recorded in a number of spiritual traditions, not only Tibetan Buddhism. In fact, there are some Christian scholars, such as Francis V. Tissot, who argues that Christ's ascension may have been a case of attaining the rainbow body. In this video, we will first look at the phenomena of the rainbow body, as it is understood in Tibetan Buddhism, and its first appearance in the religion, which predates Tibetan Buddhism, Bon. This is because it is within the Bon religion, and later Tibetan Buddhism, that the attainment of the rainbow body is especially revered as the epitome of spiritual accomplishment. In these traditions, attainment of the rainbow body stands as a profound testament to the adept's mastery over the illusory nature of the material world. However, it is not merely within the Tibetan Buddhist spiritual tradition that the event of the rainbow body has been reported. Therefore, we will also look at other spiritual traditions who have suggested they too have experienced extraordinary instances of the rainbow body. We will also examine the practices that are said to lead to the attainment of the rainbow body. Are there common understandings of the rainbow body across spiritual traditions? But most importantly, is the rainbow body truly real? The concept of the rainbow body originates in the ancient Tibetan Bon tradition. Bon was the indigenous spiritual system of Tibet that predates the advent of Buddhism in the region. The followers of Bon are known as Bonpos. Bon encompasses a wide range of beliefs and practices, including rituals, prayers, and meditation. It incorporates shamanistic elements, animistic beliefs, and a reverence for nature. Bon has its own set of scriptures, rituals, and deities. When Buddhism was introduced to Tibet in the 7th century, it encountered the pre-existing Bon tradition. Over time, elements of Bon were integrated into Tibetan Buddhism, also known as Vajrayana Buddhism, creating a syncretic blend of the two traditions, a blend of traditions that continues to this day. It is with Bon that the notion of the light body or rainbow body originates. When Buddhism arrived in Tibet, particularly with the arrival of Padmasambhava from India in the 8th century, the concept of the rainbow body was absorbed and integrated into Tibetan Buddhist or Vajrayana teachings. The practices surrounding the attainment of the rainbow body significantly influenced the development of the highest teachings of Vajrayana Buddhism, known as Dzogchen. Dzogchen represents the pinnacle of meditative and contemplative practices in Vajrayana Buddhism. It teaches the direct realization of one's innate nature. It is that realization that is the attainment of enlightenment, and very often the accomplishment of the rainbow body. Nevertheless, the notion of the rainbow body is not confined merely to Tibet's Bon and Vajrayana traditions. Expressions and reports of it can be found in the visions of Christian mystics, Sufi experiences of annihilation in the divine, and Taoist practices that pursue immortality, among others. The occurrence of the rainbow body is obviously a physical transformation. It does also, however, have profound symbolic meaning. It suggests an ultimate fusion between the material and spiritual realms. To be clear, it is said to be, by those who have witnessed it, a dazzling metamorphosis, wherein the spiritual practitioner's form suddenly and irrevocably becomes radiant light. In the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the rainbow body is not merely a fantastic spectacle. It is an event that is the culmination of the realization of the emptiness of mind and existence. To understand how a body could possibly transform into light, we must first begin to understand the many different aspects of the body-mind. Within the teachings of Hinduism and Buddhism, there is an understanding of the body-mind as having three primary aspects: gross, subtle, and causal. The gross body, called Sthula Sharira in Sanskrit, is the physical or material aspect of the body, including the organs, tissues, and the entire physical structure. It is the tangible, perceivable form that interacts with the external world and is subject to the laws of nature, birth, aging, and death. Through advanced meditation and yogic practices, Tibetan Buddhist practitioners work to transcend the limitations of the gross physical body. The focus is on recognizing the illusory nature of the material form and understanding its impermanence. These gross body practices are known as the practices of transformation. The subtle body, or Sukshma Sharira, is beyond the physical. The subtle body consists of more refined energies, such as the breath, mind, emotions, and the sensory experiences. It is the realm of thoughts, feelings, and the subtle impressions that shape one's psychological and emotional landscape. Practices in Tibetan Buddhism, particularly in the Dzogchen tradition, involve refining the energies and consciousness associated with the subtle body. Meditators seek to purify their minds, emotions, and subtle impressions, recognizing the interconnectedness of these aspects with the ultimate nature of reality. These subtle body practices are known as the practices of refinement. The causal body, or Karana Sharira, is the deepest, most foundational aspect of the illusory self. It is the causal body that is said to be the storehouse of karmic imprints and the seeds of future experiences. It is also understood by Vajrayana Buddhists that it is the penetrating insight into the emptiness of the causal body that is the final, illusory knot of the apparent body-mind to be undone. It is with this final undoing of the causal body or knot that the possibility for all three aspects of the body-mind to dissolve into light or attain the rainbow body. These causal body practices are known as the practices of transcendence. It is important to note that Hinduism and Buddhism conceive of and understand the causal body in very different ways. Most schools of Hinduism understand the causal body not only as irreducible Atman, but identical to the absolute Brahman. Therefore, in the reports of the achievement of the rainbow body in Hinduism, it is understood not as the transcendence of the causal body, but rather as the realization of the causal body. This is a very different understanding than that of Buddhism, and particularly of Vajrayana Buddhism, when it comes to manifesting a rainbow body. In Vajrayana Buddhism, and Buddhism more generally, the causal body is not realized, but transcended. That is, like the gross and subtle bodies prior to it, the causal body is understood through tacit insight to be empty or illusory. Thus, it is the illusory and only apparent causal body that is the final knot to be undone, so that the apparent body-mind dissolves into or returns to its most elementary constituent, that which is the sole elementary constituent of the entire apparent universe, light. Or as Albert Einstein put it, E equals mc squared. Of course, not all schools of Hinduism see the causal body as irreducible. Some schools are, in fact, very close to the Buddhist notion of the emptiness of the causal body. The great Indian sage, Nisargadatta Maharaj, taught, "Meditate on the I am until the I am is seen as utterly illusory." For Nisargadatta, the I am, or most prior sense of existence, was identical to the causal body. Nisargadatta said that we can ultimately see the illusory nature of the I am, or causal body. He taught that the I am is identical to being. Being is Brahman. Non-being is Para-Brahman. Para-Brahman is the source of Brahman, as light is the source of matter, or as the rainbow body is the source of the apparent body, gross, subtle, or causal. Regardless of whether we understand the accomplishment of the rainbow body as the realization or transcendence of the primary knot, that is, the causal body, certain foundational and advanced spiritual practices are suggested. These practices remain resonant across a variety of spiritual traditions. Perhaps the most fundamental of these practices is meditation, or the disciplined cultivation of attention. Practitioners engage in profound contemplation to unravel the nature of the mind and transcend the illusion of self. Ethical conduct, or the freeing of energy and attention for the spiritual quest, is also very important. As we have seen, these foundational practices tend to address the body at its gross and subtle levels. Beyond these, the more advanced practices can vary from tradition to tradition. However, it is with these more advanced practices that we begin to inquire deeply into the root illusion, the causal body. In Tibetan Buddhism, particularly within the Dzogchen and Mahamudra teachings, practitioners embark on an intense inspection of the nature of mind. These esoteric practices often bring about in practitioners a direct experience of the nature of reality. This can lead to a profound shift in consciousness. Both the schools and practices of Dzogchen and Mahamudra direct practitioners to recognize the boundless luminosity of their awareness. In the Bon tradition, rituals and ceremonies play a crucial role in the pursuit of the rainbow body. These ceremonies, intricately woven with symbolic gestures and sacred chants, serve as catalysts for spiritual transformation. The Bonpo practitioner engages in intricate rituals aimed at harmonizing the elements within the body, gross, subtle, and causal. These rituals are said to invoke the divine energies necessary for the transcendence of embodiment. All of these approaches aim at transcending the limitations of the material world, including the illusion of embodiment, and realizing the prior boundlessness of empty consciousness. This may or may not include the physical body dissolving into light. No matter the spiritual tradition, the steps or path to achieving a rainbow body are very similar. The preliminary stages include the cultivation of virtue and wisdom, as well as the mastery of basic meditation techniques. The cultivation of virtue and wisdom most often includes the practice of both compassion, or selfless attention, and the refinement of attention more generally. The mastery of basic meditation techniques means that proficiency in stilling the mind, fostering inner tranquility and concentration, has been achieved. It is based on a foundation of these that one can proceed to the intermediate stages, leading to the achieving of a rainbow body. These stages include a deepening of one's understanding of emptiness and non-duality. This understanding leads to an unveiling of the illusory aspects of self and the external world. As this understanding becomes firmer, one can introduce advanced meditation techniques. In the Vajrayana tradition, these advanced practices are often found in the Dzogchen and Mahamudra teachings. These and similar teachings begin to dissolve egoic structures through the recognition of the pure luminosity of always already prior empty consciousness. It is in the final stages prior to the actualization of a rainbow body, one has the first glimpses of the dissolution of physical limitations. Paradoxically, this is not a physical dissolution, but a profound insight that the apparent limitations of the physical were only ever illusory. The so-called prison or limitation of the body-mind is and only ever was illusory. One begins to see very clearly that the body-mind does not exist, and in fact has never existed. The body-mind was only ever a thought. In actuality, there only ever was light. With this realization, one is released from something that never happened, the cycle of birth and death. The final knot, the causal body, is seen to have never existed, and thus the body-mind releases itself into its always already constituent of light. This can appear to others as the practitioner's essence, transforming into a radiant spectrum of colors, a seeming union with the divine. In reality, nothing has happened as light has only seemingly become light. However, to others, this seeming event may seem to represent the culmination of unfathomable spiritual achievement. A fantastical event, where the apparent practitioner transcends the conventional boundaries of the body and existence, resulting in a state of luminous enlightenment. Mindless embodiment, consciousness without inwardness. Thus it becomes obvious. Every object is only light, the energy of consciousness. Even so, there is no mind. Only this stark embodiment, without inwardness. First, transcend the mind, not the body. Only the body is full of consciousness. Therefore, be the body only, feeling into life. Surrender the mind into love until the body dissolves in light. Dare this ecstasy, and never be made thoughtful by birth and experience and death. Sri Adida Samraj.
Manojavam Marutatulyavegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Vatatmajam Vanarayudhamukhyam Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadde.